Some places on this planet just hum with mystery. They call out to us, pulling us in with tales of lost treasures, forgotten histories. Mount Ararat is one of those places. It's a colossal, snow-capped volcano, standing sentinel on the border of Turkey and Armenia. But it's not just a mountain, it's a legend etched into the very bedrock of our world. For thousands of years it has been whispered, the final resting place of Noah's Ark. This isn't just a story you read in a book. For many, it's a tangible piece of history waiting to be rediscovered, a puzzle that could rewrite our understanding of the ancient past. The allure of Ararat is powerful. It's a place of faith. It's a place of history. It's a place of adventure. Imagine standing at its base, looking up at its icy summit, picturing something of immense historical and spiritual significance locked in the ice and rock above. This isn't just a hunt for old wood, it's a quest for answers to humanity's biggest questions. Did a global flood really happen? Did one man build a massive ark to save life on Earth? Some believe the answers are not in books but physically present, frozen in time on this formidable mountain, waiting for someone with enough courage and determination to find them. For centuries, explorers, adventurers, scientists, and believers have been drawn here. They've faced treacherous climbs, political turmoil, and the unforgiving wrath of nature, all for a chance to solve its ultimate secret. To understand the obsession with Mount Ararat, you first have to go back to the story itself. It's one of the most well-known narratives in the world, found in the book of Genesis. According to the text, humanity had become corrupt, and God decided to cleanse the earth with a great flood. But one righteous man, Noah, was instructed to build a massive ark, a vessel of gopher wood sealed with pitch. He was to bring his family 2 of every kind of animal aboard. The scale of this vessel is staggering, described as 300 cubits long, 50 cubits wide, 30 cubits high. That's a ship roughly 450 feet long, the size of a World War II escort carrier. The floodwaters rose, covering the entire planet for 150 days. As the waters began to recede, the Bible tells us, the ark came to rest on the mountains of Ararat. This single line has fueled centuries of belief and exploration. While the text says mountains in the plural, referring to the ancient kingdom of Urartu, tradition has long pointed to the highest peak in that range, the majestic, twin-peaked Mount Ararat. For believers, this isn't just a symbolic story. It's a historical account, and if the ark rested there, its remains or fragments must still exist, preserved in the mountain's icy grip. The idea that a wooden structure could survive for thousands of years might seem far-fetched, but the unique environment of Mount Ararat makes it plausible to some. The upper elevations are covered by a permanent ice cap, a natural deep freeze that could preserve ancient wood. The theory is that the ark, or a significant portion of it, became entombed in ice and rock after landing, protected from the elements and time. It's a tantalizing prospect, a perfectly preserved time capsule from a lost world, waiting to be thawed and revealed. This connection between sacred text and a specific physical location transforms myth into an actionable quest. It gives a destination, a tangible goal for those seeking to prove the Bible's historical accuracy. The mountain becomes more than geology, it becomes a sacred site, a monument holding the key to a pivotal moment in human history. For much of history, the local Armenian people considered the mountain sacred. They believed it was forbidden to ascend to its summit. They believed God had protected the ark's resting place. Any attempt to reach it would be met with failure. The first documented successful ascent didn't happen until 1829. Friedrich Perre, a German-Estonian professor from the University of Dorpat. He was accompanied by a team of soldiers and local guides. Perre and his team finally stood on the icy peak, October 9, 1829. They proved the mountain could be conquered by mortals. Perre's climb broke the spell. He reported finding no trace of the ark, but he opened the door for others. World War II and the Cold War brought constant surveillance over NATO member Turkey and the Soviet Union. Pilots flying reconnaissance missions began reporting something strange, a peculiar formation high up on the mountain that didn't look like a natural rock outcropping, long, dark-shaped almost like a massive barge. This mysterious feature came to be known as the Ararat Anomaly. The first widely circulated account came from a Russian Imperial Air Force pilot in 1916, claimed to have flown over the mountain and seen the frozen hulk of a giant ship. Tsar Nicholas II dispatched an expedition to investigate. The soldiers supposedly found the ark, took measurements and drew up plans, but their reports were lost during the chaos of the Russian Revolution of 1917. While this story is largely considered apocryphal and lacks solid evidence, it set the stage for what was to come. In 1949, the United States Air Force began flying missions over Ararat and captured a series of photographs. One image in particular became legendary. It showed a long, linear feature sticking out of the Ahora Gorge Glacier at an elevation of around 15,000 feet. Among them, one name stands out: Fernand Navarra. French industrialist amateur explorer Navarra was captivated by the Ark legend, mounted several expeditions to Mount Ararat starting in the 1950s. He was convinced something was hidden within the mountain's glaciers and was willing to risk everything to find it. In 1955, after a grueling climb, Navarra claimed to have found something incredible. Deep within a crevasse in the Parrot Glacier, he saw the dark outline of a massive wooden structure. He described it as being shaped like the hull of a ship locked in the ancient ice. With the tools he had, he managed to hack a piece of worked timber from the structure. The wood was dark, almost black, and appeared to be hand-hewn. He brought the 5-foot-long beam down from the mountain, a solid piece of evidence that seemed to corroborate centuries of stories and legends. For the first time, an explorer had returned with more than just a story. The discovery made international headlines. Navarra's piece of wood was a sensation. Here was physical proof, something scientists could actually test. The initial excitement was immense. The wood was subjected to a series of tests in laboratories across Europe, radiocarbon dating among them. However, the results were anything but clear-cut. Initial radiocarbon dating tests were inconclusive, some suggesting an age of around 5,000 years, others pointing to a much younger age, perhaps only 1,500 years old. This ambiguity cast the first shadow of doubt on Navarra's incredible find. Undeterred, Navarra returned to the mountain in 1969 with a new expedition, his son, and a film crew. As technology advanced, so did the tools of the Ark hunter. The grainy images of the mid-20th century gave way to high-resolution satellite imagery, ground-penetrating radar. The focus returned to one mysterious spot high on the northeastern slope, the Ararat Anomaly. In the early 2000s, Porcher Taylor spearheaded a campaign for better images. He was a national security analyst. He was also a professor. He persuaded commercial satellite companies. He even convinced intelligence agencies to look. The new images were stunning. They provided a much clearer view than ever. They revealed a long, symmetrical feature, buried beneath the ice, visible in heavy melt years. It measured roughly 1,000 feet, remarkably close to Ark dimensions once glacier distortion is considered. The images seemed to show structural ribs and supports along its side. To believers, this was undeniable proof. This was no rock formation. The images sparked a new wave of expeditions. One major backer was Dr. Don Shockey, a real estate developer who poured in his fortune. He and his teams used the satellite data to plan ground expeditions. Their goals: get to the anomaly, touch it, bring back samples. The site sits in a treacherous, inaccessible part of the mountain, a sheer, ice-choked gorge extremely dangerous to navigate. For every piece of evidence presented by Ark hunters, there is a counter-argument from the scientific community. The search for Noah's Ark is a classic battleground where faith and empirical science often clash. Skeptics argue that there is no geological evidence of a single, global flood as described in Genesis. Geologists point out that the layers of rock and sediment around the world show a history of localized floods, but not one cataclysmic event that covered the entire planet. Fernand Navarra's famous piece of wood is a prime example. While some early tests were promising, more advanced radiocarbon dating later placed the wood's age between the 7th and 8th centuries AD. This suggests the wood likely came from a much later structure, possibly a Christian shrine or a cross erected by monks who lived on the mountain. Geologists have also offered alternative explanations for the Ararat anomaly, suggesting it's a natural geological formation, like a block of bedrock or a lava flow that has been uniquely shaped by the movement of the glacier over thousands of years. Furthermore, many of the most dramatic stories of Ark sightings lack verifiable proof. The tale of the Russian Tsar's expedition, for instance, has never been substantiated with any official documents or records from Russian archives. Many eyewitness accounts are decades old, passed down through generations, making them difficult to verify and prone to exaggeration. This phenomenon, known as confirmation bias, is a powerful force, especially when dealing with a topic of such profound spiritual significance. This skepticism isn't necessarily meant to discredit the faith of believers. Rather, it's about adhering to the rigorous standards of the scientific method, which requires extraordinary evidence for extraordinary claims. Beyond the world of satellite imagery and carbon dating, there exists another, older body of evidence: the stories and legends of the people who have lived in the shadow of Mount Ararat for centuries. For the local Kurdish villagers, for the local Armenian villagers, Agridagi, the painful mountain, is a part of their daily life and their cultural heritage. Their connection to the peak is deep and personal. Their folklore is rich with tales of the great ship that rests on its summit. These stories, passed down from generation to generation, offer a unique perspective on the mystery. Many of these local legends predate the modern era of exploration. They speak of a sacred vessel protected by divine forces. One common story tells of a holy man, a shepherd who, through piety and persistence, was granted a vision of the ark, or was even allowed to approach it. In some versions, the man is given a piece of the ark's wood as a sacred relic but is forbidden from revealing its exact location. These stories reinforce that the ark is not meant to be found by just anyone but only by those who are worthy, adding to the mountain's mystique and sacred status. In the 20th century, these legends evolved into more direct eyewitness accounts. One famous account is of a Kurdish farmer named Recit, who claimed that in 1948 he saw the prow of a massive ship sticking out of the ice in the Ahora Gorge after warm summers and an earthquake exposed it. He described it to Ark researchers, noting its immense size and the dark petrified wood. So after all the expeditions, the satellite photos, the carbon-dated wood, and the ancient legends, where do we stand? Has Noah's Ark really been found on Mount Ararat? The honest answer is, maybe. The truth is, we are left with a collection of tantalizing clues but no definitive knockout proof. The search for the Ark remains one of the most compelling and unresolved mysteries of our time. It's a puzzle with too many missing pieces, a story where every piece of evidence seems to lead to more questions and deeper controversy. The mountain continues to hold its secrets close. On one hand, the body of circumstantial evidence is hard to ignore. We have multiple independent eyewitness accounts spanning over a century, all describing a similar object in a similar location. We have the Ararat Anomaly, a massive ship-like object captured on military and commercial satellite imagery whose shape and dimensions are eerily consistent with the biblical account. We have physical samples of ancient hand-worked timber recovered from the mountain's glaciers. When you put all these pieces together, it paints a compelling picture and suggests that something extraordinary is indeed hidden on that peak. On the other hand, every single one of these pieces of evidence has a plausible scientific counter-explanation. The eyewitness accounts could be misinterpretations of natural features or recycled folklore. The Ararat Anomaly could be a unique geological formation, a trick of light and shadow on a vast glacier. The wood samples have been dated to periods long after the supposed flood. Without a smoking gun, a verifiable, testable piece of the structure found in situ and confirmed by independent researchers, the scientific community will remain unconvinced. The high bar of scientific proof has simply not been met, and so the quest continues. Mount Ararat remains a place of profound mystery, where the lines between faith, history, and mythology are blurred. Perhaps the Ark is there, waiting for a year with the perfect amount of ice melt, or for an explorer with the right combination of luck, technology, and courage to finally reach it.